Hey everyone, this week we are learning about line plots, how to read them, how to use them to figure out some different information using data, and how to make a line plot and how to divide it out and section it out and plot all of our points. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and look at the top part of the front side of your homework. It says Sheila weighs some strawberries of different sizes. She weighs each strawberry to the nearest 1/8 ounce. The results are shown in the line plot below. So if we look at the line plot for a minute, we're just going to take a second to read this line plot, right? Well, what are the boundaries of this line plot? First, it's 0 to 1, right? There's nothing above 1 and there's nothing below 0. Every single strawberry's weight individually is going to be within 1 ounce, okay? So it's going to be a fraction of an ounce. All right, and so now that we know our boundaries, let's look at how they've split this line plot up. So first of all, they take the boundary, right, 0 to 1, and they half it to give us 1/2, correct? Okay, and then you can take each half and split it in half to get 1/4, right? So if we take the halves and split them in half, right, now we have it divided into fourths, right? We have 1/4 here, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, right? Okay, and so now, since we have those, you can take each fourth and split it in half so that we can make eighths. So now we've split our number line into eighths. Each section on this line plot represents 1/8 of an ounce, right? And so I'm going to erase right here where I've circled these and where I've drawn on here. Let's see, we'll take those away too. So now that we've read the line plot and kind of see how it's set up for us and how it's written out, now let's look at the data. Okay, the data is found where the X's are. So for example, one thing that we can learn from this line plot is that we have how many strawberries? Well, we could sit here and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right? So we have 16 strawberries that we're measuring for their weight, right? And each one kind of has a different weight, right? Not every single one of them have different weights, but there is a range of different weights that these strawberries have. And so if we look, do we have any strawberries that weigh 0 ounces? No, because there would be an X right there, correct? Do we have any 1/8 of an ounce strawberries? No, because if we did, we would have X's there, right? So we have no 1/8 pound or 1/8 ounce strawberries. But if we look at 1/4 of an ounce or 2/8, right? 1/4 and 2/8 are the same. So if we look at 1/4, how many strawberries weigh 1/4 of a pound? Well, how many X's are there? 4, right? And so that means that we have 4 strawberries that weigh 1/4 of a pound. Okay, and then if we continue through this, how many strawberries weigh 3/8 of an ounce? I'm sorry, I keep saying pound. I mean ounces, okay? But anyway, how many strawberries do we have that are 3/8 of an ounce? Again, we have 4, right? We have 4 right there. And then if we look at 1/2, how many strawberries weigh 1/2 of an ounce? 3, right? 3 X's above that one. And then we have 1 strawberry that weighs 5/8 of an ounce. And then 2 strawberries weigh 3/4 of an ounce. And then 2 strawberries weigh 7/8 of an ounce. So we have a wide range of strawberries here, right? All of them are within 1 ounce, right? They're not super duper heavy. If you pick up 1 strawberry, it's not really going to be very heavy at all, right? And so and when you think of it that way, that's really how we're measuring these. All right, and so now we can answer these questions. Number 1 says, what is the difference of the weights of the heaviest and lightest strawberries? Well, to find that out, right, we're going to take 1 of the heaviest and 1 of the lightest strawberries, right? Take 1 of each and do, well, we have the big one, right? The biggest one or the heaviest one would be 7/8 of a pound. And then the smallest one or lightest one would be 1/4 of an ounce, not a pound. So sorry, an ounce, right? And now we have a subtraction problem with fractions, right? We kind of have to think back for a minute, okay? And I'm going to work this one out with you, so let's zoom in for a second. The first step in solving addition or subtraction with fractions, please don't forget, we have to make sure that we get the common denominator. right? And so what is the common denominator between 8 and 4? It's 8, right? Because 8 times 1 would be 8, right? And you would do the same to the top, but 4 times 2 would be 8, right? And so now let's make our equivalent fractions. And when we do this, 1 times 2 is 2, 4 times 2 is 8. Now our denominators are the same, and we are able to subtract. So 7 minus 2 is 5, and then our denominator stays the same. So the difference between the weights of the heaviest and lightest strawberries would be what? 5/8. Okay? So you guys are going to do the rest of these, but I'm going to talk you through them very quickly. It says, what is the total weight of the strawberries that weigh 3/4 of an ounce or more? Okay, so if you look, you're looking for total, right? That means you're going to what? Add, right? When you see total weight, you're going to add. And that means that if we have, if we look at the 3/4 ounce or more, that means we're adding these 4 strawberries together. So you're doing 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 7/8 plus 7/8, or you can do 3/4 times 2, 7/8 times 2, and then add those together. You guys can use your knowledge on how to add all of those together and get the total weight there for those 4 strawberries. And then number 3 says, what is the total weight of the strawberries that weigh less than 1/2 ounce? So what is the total weight of the strawberries that weigh less than 1/2 ounce? So you wouldn't deal with the half ounces, right? It would be less than, so you would add those together. You would get the total here. And look, here's a quick trick. 1/4 times 4 is what? 1 whole, right? And then so really, you can just add 3/8 times 4, or multiply 3/8 times 4, and then add it to 1. Okay, so there are some quick little tricks sometimes that you can use based on what the fractions are. And so that would help you out a whole lot. And then the final question on this side says, what is the difference in weight between all the strawberries that weigh 7/8 of an ounce and all the strawberries that weigh 1/2 of an ounce? So that means, just bear with me for a minute, all of them that weigh 7/8, so 7/8 times 2, right? And all the strawberries that weigh 1/2 of an ounce, which are 3 of these. Now, 1/2 is just 1/2, right? 1/2 times 2 would be 1 whole. And then 1/2 times 3 would be 1 whole and 1/2, right? 1 1/2. Okay, and then you can do 7/8 times 2 minus 1 1/2. Okay, and you can listen to this video again to me explaining exactly how to solve these. That's fine, but really, you guys can kind of use your knowledge of like reading that question and figuring out what you need to do to solve that problem. Okay, so you're going to solve that side. And then when we look at the back side, it says a meteorologist set up rain gauges at various locations around the city and recorded the rainfall amounts in the table below. It says use the data in the table to create a line plot using 1/8 inches. So the very first thing that we need to look at, okay, we have all of the different amounts of rainfall right there. That's all of the inches that we have, right? And so can we go 0 to 1 on this line plot? Can we go just only from 0 to 1? Are all of our numbers here, are all of our fractions between 0 and 1? No, right? We have a 1 1/4 too, right? And so really, we can't just go from 0 to 1. We would have to go from 0 to 2. Okay, so if we write this out, 0 to 2, we've got to go to that next whole number, right? Because we have a number that is higher than 1. So we don't want to just do 1. We want to do 0 to 2 first, okay? And so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and split this up into eighths. Okay, now look, I'm going to help you split this entire thing up, okay? I won't always be able to help you, but in this video, this is how you split this up. Ready? I like to just go by halves each time. So if I have 0 to 2, right, what is half of that? 1. Okay, so now I have half of 2. Okay, now I'm going to split each section into halves again, right? So if I split here and here, right, what would be half of 0 and 1? It would be 1/2, right? What would be half of 1 and 2? It would be 1 1/2. Okay, so now, again, it looks like I've split this into fourths, right? And truly, I have, right? But since I'm 0 to 2, right, the middle of that would be 1. And then the middle of 0 and 1 would be 1/2. And then the middle of 1 and 2 would be 1 and 1/2. Okay? Now, next, I'm going to, again, split each piece into half. Okay, so half of 1/2 would be 1/4. And then what would be halfway in between 1/2 and 1? It would be 3/4, right? Same thing here, except it would be what? 1 and 1/4. Here would be 1 and 3/4. And so now I've split this number line into fourths. But what do we need to split it into? Eighths. Each part, each section needs to be split into eighths. So now, since I have fourths, if I half each individual fourth, I will have my eighths that I need. So this would be 1, and look, I'll do this in a different color so that it's not all mixed together. That would be 1/8, right? 1/4 would be 2/8. So the next eighth would be 3/8. Then 4/8 is really 1/2. So the next one would be 5/8. 3/4 would be 6/8. And then this would be 7/8. Now 1/2 would be 8/8. Okay, so now I've split that into eighths. And once I split it here, I would just go 1 and 1/8. 1 and 3/8. 1 and 5/8. And then 1 and 7/8. Okay, now I've split my number line into eighths. And this looks very, very complicated, right? But you can rewatch this video to see how I split each piece up. And guys, if you remember, just take your whole, split it in half. Take that half, split it in half. Take that fourth, split it in half, and then take the eighth, and if you need to, split it in half, right? So each time you split it in half, you have to split each section, right? So there's my number line, okay, my line plot. Now all I need to do is take all of this data over here, okay? Take all of the data that's on this side. I'm sorry, guys, I keep messing up my eraser. But anyway, take that data, okay, and plot each one. So if we have 1/8, right, take it right here, 1/8. I know that's huge, but it's okay. And then you can mark that out, right? I look down for another 1/8. There's another one, right? Put it up there. There's one more 1/8. So how many 1/8 do I have? 3, right? And then you move on to the next number, and you just plot exactly. And once you make the line plot, guys, this is the easy part. You just take these inches, like this data over here on the table, and you just plug it in. You just plug it into your line plot there, wherever it goes above, like put an X above whatever the number matches. You can do that super easy, right? Now we can answer A, B, C, and D, which I'm going to let you guys do that. But it says which location received the most rainfall. And so when you look at the chart here, you look at the locations, right? You have locations 1 through 10. Whichever one had the most inches of rainfall, that's what you would write for letter A, right? And then B says which location received the least rainfall, right? If it's more than one location, you can write more than one location, okay? And then C says which rainfall measurement was the most frequent. That's when you look up at your line plot and see, okay, well, which one happened the most out of all the locations? Which one of these repeated the most, for the inches and the measurement of the rain, right? And then D says, what is the total rainfall in inches? The total rainfall. Now, look, this is going to be maybe the hardest problem. Not really the hardest, but may take the most work, right? It's asking you to take all of that data and add it up so that you can just see how much in all 10 locations put together, how much rain did it all receive together. So what's the total rainfall? That means you're adding location 1 through 10, all of those data points, okay? So I know that that's a lot. I know that's a lot of different things to remember, but if you need to go back and watch this video again, or if you need to just look at certain parts, that's totally fine. You can do that. And the word for the week, instead of doing a superhero, we're going to do a word. You just write down supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and just write that down on a piece of paper. I promise it's worth it. You get a dojo point, and I hope you guys have a great week. See ya.